Wallace Kantai is with me on this. He's been following this very closely, knows a lot about the African Union. Wallace, what do you make of that response from Uganda?
We're escalating a problem that should not be escalated. In any election, and here we have to be as brutal as possible, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. In this particular case, Kenya put up a very, very good campaign, a very good fight. Unfortunately, Amina Mohammed lost in her bid to be African Union Commission chair. You can always do a post-mortem figuring out why this happened, why we lost, why the candidate got certain votes in certain rounds and not in other rounds. All that stuff is no problem. In fact, you have to do that if you want to be successful in the future. Yeah. What you cannot do, in my opinion, especially in the business of diplomacy, is to, in effect, be a bad loser, be a sole loser. So the East African community is perhaps Kenya's most important multilateral undertaking. It's our most important body that we belong to. Then the African Union, obviously the UN and all these other things. So you can't then create a crisis within the ESA, which is what this will turn out to be, because of an election that got that a candidate lost. The other thing to say is that with diplomacy, even a misplaced comma can sometimes be the cause of a huge amount of angst within the diplomatic community. The people who are old enough would remember back in the 70s when the United States was trying to negotiate a peace deal with Vietnam. They spent months, literally months, trying to decide the shape of a table. You know, that's how diplomacy goes. So when you come out with a very strong language about betrayal and that sort of thing and calibrating relationships because of an election which you perceive that someone voted against you, that could have been done a lot quieter. It could have been done at much lower levels as opposed to a foreign minister speaking like that. Then you can figure if indeed Uganda, Burundi, or any other East African community country did not vote for Amina Mohammed, which is a cause of her losing, you can do it in a way that doesn't escalate the problem. You know, you can do it a lot quietly.
What then does this mean? Because for Uganda to actually write a statement saying that they were with us, is it that they're trying to ensure that we're still in good books? Or are we expecting all the other countries that voted against us also to come up and explain why?
In some respects, Uganda is trying to de-escalate the situation. Like we said, it needs de-escalation. So saying, by the way, we were in full support of Amina Mohammed, but also is something in sort of the second or last paragraph of that statement that says we're still very, very strong allies. You know, because there's so much more that these two countries need from each other, and all these countries need from each other outside of the AU Commission chair. That has passed. That passed on Monday. It's gone. There's issues to do with trade. There's issues to do with the movement of people. There's issues to do with security and peace. There's issues to do with elections. We have an election coming up this year. Uganda still has bad memories of the 2007 election when Kenya went slightly wrong. You then had a problem with things getting through to Uganda. So they have an interest in seeing a stable Kenya and having a good relationship with Kenya. So that's why maybe as a Ugandan governmental perspective, they looked and said, we don't want this to become a war of words, which is, if we say that, yes, you did let us down, and you had some of the statements also coming through, although this is not multilateral diplomacy, but in the case of one of our government leaders coming through and saying that it's civil society that did this, Kofi Annan had something to do with it, all that sort of stuff, you can understand being pained at losing an election, but calm down. You know, calm down, sit down together as a team and say the team that was responsible, it was a huge thing. It actually had a ministerial committee that was led by Dr. Matiang'i. You come and say, fine, guys, what are the lessons to learn? We did very, very well. If you remember, Amina Mohammed actually led in some of the rounds with significant numbers of votes, but she still lost. You come back and say, okay, fine, if we had 28 votes at one point out of the 34 that we needed, what did we do to gain those 28 votes? What can we do to get 6 more in case there's an election of this nature coming? There's other elections that are going to come. There's other positions that we need. There's other things that we need done from a multilateral perspective, whether it's going to be with what you're saying about the court that replaces the International Criminal Court. We will need to do diplomacy to ensure that we get our way there. When it comes to issues of the pipeline, when it comes to issues of the railway, we will need to sit and speak to each other as adults. So we can't come and, I don't know to say this on television, but I have to say it, you can't throw a tantrum because you lost an election.
There's been several theories coming through at the post-mortem after this. Which one stood out for you? There's been issues that Kenyans were voted against because we look like we are self-serving. And there's also the issue that the AU was with us when we were fighting against the ICC issue. That's why we lost. Which one stood out for you?
Let me tell you what my take is. And I said this on Monday right here. Was that we're looking at this thing as if Amina Mohammed lost by 100 votes. She did not. She led in quite a number of the rounds. She was a very strong second even in the rounds in which she was not leading. The rules of the election say that when it comes to the 6th round, if you still don't have a winner, and the winner is at 34 votes, you will then go into one round of election where you have someone coming through as a single candidate. They then get voted for. If they get voted for and they don't reach that threshold, either they cancel the whole election and decide what to do, maybe with fresh candidates, or maybe go to the second place candidate and do the same thing with that candidate. So that's a point at which Amina Mohammed lost. We are treating it as if she was soundly beaten. She wasn't. To me, the football analogy would be that she went into extra time, she lost on penalties. So even as you come back and try and figure out what went wrong, you can't beat yourself over the head, because everyone now what they're doing is, instead of looking at it in isolation as the AUC election and whatever it is, they're now starting to throw in every little thing that they have against, for example, the government or the Jubilee administration, and saying, you see, Jubilee is corrupt, that's why these guys don't like you. You see, Jubilee is this and that and the other. Do not forget, Chad, by very many measures, is a failed state. So if Kenya is corrupt indeed, Chad is also corrupt. If Kenya has issues to do with its position, same thing with Chad. So don't look at it as if it was a huge loss. However, we still have many, many more of these positions to run for. We have many more things that we need to do with our foreign policy. Let's all calm down. Let's be diplomatic, literally diplomatic, to ensure that we don't throw out the baby in the bathwater.
All right. Thanks, Wallace. Wallace Kantai, they're speaking to me about Uganda's response to AU